Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name's Dave, and this is episode 1809A, and today's date is March 7th, 2019, and the title of the episode is, How Do You Bring Down the Central Bank? Stealth Mode. Now, don't you just love it when you find a $20 bill in a jacket pocket you haven't worn in ages, or a purse you've not used for a long time? Well, imagine this, finding hundreds of dollars in the papers that are sitting in your file cabinet. I'm talking about that old 401k paperwork. That money is sitting there doing nothing. Our friends at Noble Gold can cast an eye over that lost paperwork and see if you qualify for a precious metals IRA with it. So they're offering one of these special Morgan Silver dollars for all qualified IRAs above $20,000. So dig out the old paperwork and click the link below to get started on your gold IRA. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we can see there are many different parts of the plan that are moving all at the same time. And we can see that the Mueller report is about to come out. We know the D-class is going to happen, and that's going to come up very soon. And we realize that Trump, the Patriots, they'll be going after the central bank. Q has been referencing the Federal Reserve, telling us that gold will bring down the Federal Reserve, and we've been seeing different things happen within the Trump administration. We also see other countries are ramping up their gold purchases. Now, just like Trump and the Patriots are using military planning to bring down the deep state, where they just didn't go in and say, hey, listen, we're taking over, the deep state's going to be arrested, and that's that. They knew that wouldn't work. So they had to use this plan that would work in stealth mode, where they could remove certain people in the FBI, Department of Justice, get rid of the blockage to Clinton and many others. Replace a lot of judges within the 6th Circuit, 4th Circuit, 9th Circuit, and in the Supreme Court. And push certain legislation, executive orders to trap these individuals in their dealings while these individuals go about their everyday business. I think the same thing is happening now with the central bank, because we can see many different things happening, but if you just look at them, it looks like nothing's happening. But if you start to put them all together, you can see the plan is starting to evolve, and we'll be talking about that in just a moment. But I wanted to go out to the UK once again, and this is part of the plan, the BREXIT. They want this to happen, and this is why the people and those in government within the UK, they are holding out. They're not just agreeing to May's plan, to the central bank's plan. I believe they should just completely separate themselves and let the EU go their way and let the UK go their way and see how the chips fall. I believe the UK is going to make out and the EU is going to be in trouble. But we see right now that Prime Minister Theresa May, her withdrawal agreement, well, it looks like it might lose by 100 votes. I mean, the unelected peers in the House of Lords, they voted in favor of staying with the EU. Again, always the unelected people, they do exactly what the central bank wants. The elected people, and the people that were voted in by the people, well, that's a different story. And the people of the UK, they don't want the deal that May is pushing. But again, the central bank, they're going to push back as hard as they possibly can. And I do believe there will be a time where, most likely, there will be no deal. Now, the central bank, and we talked about the central bank quite a bit. I'm talking about the Federal Reserve, ECB, BIS, IMF, UNEM, and all the other private Western central banks throughout the world. I know the governments of the world saying, hey, listen, to help the people out, we need to give them raises. We need to up minimum wage. We need to make it better. But the thing is, over time, this never works. You have to go to the source of the problem. I mean, look at a perfect example here in the United States. Just 4 months ago, Amazon enacted a $15 minimum wage for all of its employees on November 1st. Whole Foods, they brought everyone up to $15. You know what most of these stores have done? They cut their hours. Yes, they might be making more, but they brought their hours back down so they're making the same exact money. So this is the first problem. The second problem is that the Federal Reserve note, the debt note, is going to continually lose value over time. Raising the minimum wage will only help for a very short period of time. And once the dollar continually loses value, which they call inflation, guess what? You need to raise it again. This is the source of the problem, the devaluation of the dollar, because the Federal Reserve, their debt note is debt. And this is the main problem. And eventually what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to tackle the main problem, which Trump and the Patriots are going to do. We see right now, Trump is continuing with trying to even out the playing field with trade. Trump announced plans to end key trade preferences for India and Turkey. This is his latest move to counter what he calls unfair trade practices. Trump notified Congress on March 4th in a letter of his intent to terminate. And he's going to terminate trade benefits for both countries. And of course, he wants to work on a new trade deal with these countries. Remember, everything that was set, everything that was agreed upon was for the globalist model. Everything has to be undone right now. And it has to be reset for the new economy that we'll be going into. And we know that Trump, he's doing everything he possibly can, as fast as he possibly can, to get the economy ready. I know a lot of people talk about, oh, look, we're adding a lot more debt on. Oh, look, we're spending a lot more money. Yes, this is on purpose. Actually, I've had many people that I've known who declared bankruptcy, and right before they declared bankruptcy, you know what they did? They piled on more debt. What do I mean by this? They bought a lot of stuff. Then they declared bankruptcy, and they kept all that stuff. Trump, he's pushing this economy to the edge. Why not use the central bank debt note for everything that you need to do to get the economy prepared for this transition into a new economy? So basically what he's doing, he's using everything against them. The statistical information, the stock market. When I say statistical information, I'm talking about GDP, unemployment, and everything else. He's using the Federal Reserve fiat currency against them. And we know that Trump has control over the central bank. I mean, think about it. The Fed right now is going to be patient. We know that Q has told us their plan was to raise interest rates rapidly in 2019 to crash the economy in 2020. Right now, they've done nothing. Even if they raise it once, guess what? That's not part of their plan. But right now, they're staying steady. And more proof of this, that the central banks don't want to be exposed, the European Central Bank took an unexpectedly quick action today to support this slowing economy. Why is the economy slowing? Because the central bank economy is breaking down. So what did they do? Well, remember, the European Central Bank, they are made up of 19 countries. They decided not to increase the interest rates this fall. Instead, they pushed it to the end of this year. And what they're going to do is they're going to push it into next year. Why would they do this? Why all of a sudden would they have a change of heart? Think about it for a second. If they raised rates, I mean, Europe is hurting right now. If they raise rates, what do you think would happen to Europe? It would fall apart. But if we had an event and something else was going on and they raised rates, they could blame it on something else. Right now, they're exposed. Everyone's looking at the central bank. If they do anything to try to bring down the economy, they're out in the open. It's like the central bank, they're all standing in an open field and everyone is looking at them. And if they do something, everyone goes, oh, look, he just raised his hand. Oh, look, they just did this. We know exactly what they're doing. They're not hidden behind anything, any type of an event or anything. So they're all out in the open, and they know this. This is why they're being very careful, or maybe they're being controlled. Well, we know the Federal Reserve is, and we know the ECB is not going to take a chance on bringing down the entire world. Why? Because everyone would blame the central bank. And then everyone would say, well, if that central bank did that, why wouldn't another central bank do this? And I'm talking about the private ones, central banks. And this would not work out well for them. China right now, they just added to their gold reserves 60.26 million ounces worth $79.5 billion. And if you look over time, China is continually adding gold. Russia is continually adding gold. They're protecting their wealth. They know that this system will not last forever. And eventually what's going to happen, the whole thing is going to fall apart. Now, we talked about how do you bring down a central bank? Well, you do it in stealth mode. You do many things at once that don't seem like they're a part of the same thing, and you just mention them and nobody is the wiser. Think about 5G. We just talked about that. That supports a blockchain system, a cryptocurrency. Remember, Q told us that gold is going to be bringing down the Fed. Now, all they have to do is stop the manipulation and let gold rise. They can't let it happen right now because everyone would freak out. So they have to let it happen slowly but surely. And over time, you will see this happening. Now, gold is hovering around 1250 and 1350. We're going to start seeing it inch up. It's going to go down. It's going to move back up. And you're going to see different things change. And pretty soon, we're going to see gold most likely hit 1400. And it's going to move up from there. I don't think it's going to happen quickly because you don't want the central banks, you don't want those people to understand what is happening, just like with 5G. The other way is many states right now, they are passing legislation, and this legislation is to allow precious metals to be recognized, and that's gold and silver, as currency within the state, to allow the state to bypass the Federal Reserve. So think about it. You have 5G or 6G being pushed out there, a blockchain system, cryptocurrency that could be backed by gold. You stop the manipulation on gold, and you have all the states, or most of the states, pass legislation that allows gold and silver to be used as currency, which bypasses the Federal Reserve. Kansas right now introduced legislation HB 2285. Forcing the state of Kansas to recognize precious metals such as gold and silver as an official currency within the state. Now, Kansas is not the only state. We have South Carolina, Tennessee, Indiana, Missouri, Kansas City, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Wyoming, Utah, Arizona. And I do believe there are going to be more states coming on board. And once you have the majority of states saying, yes, we will accept gold and silver, that is currency, and you can pay for things using gold and silver, states will start to maybe purchase gold and silver. And if you have 5G with the blockchain coming online, you have an electronic system that you can use to separate yourself from the banking, from the Federal Reserve system. You also have the end of manipulation, which allows gold to rise, which would counter the Federal Reserve debt note. All these little things are happening all at once. At the same time, Trump is working on getting rid of or renegotiating the globalist trade deals. I mean, look at Turkey and India. Look at China right now. Once the BREXIT goes through, he wants a bilateral trade agreement with the UK. And he's going to do this to many, many countries. He's reworking everything the globalists did. Think about the World Bank. They can be sued right now. All these little parts are happening at the same time, but it looks like they're not connected, but they are. I mean, think about what he's doing with the deep state, where he's withdrawing troops, having peace talks with North Korea, peace talks in Afghanistan. He has sealed indictments, put out a statement of declassification. I mean, there's many different parts here, but it doesn't seem like anything fits together. But they do. Everything, all of this will come together at the end. This is called military planning. Making sure you have all the pieces ready to go. Not putting the pieces in before they're ready to go. Making sure all the pieces are ready to go. Everything is solidified. Making sure that once we go live, everything comes together. And guess what? Once you have everything, the deep state, the central bankers, they're going to be surprised. They're going to be shocked. They're not going to know what is happening. Where did this come from? How do they have a system already online? Actually, if you think about it, the deep state has done this to us, but not in a good way. They gave us Google, Facebook, and you might have thought that, oh, these are all separate and these are great, we can communicate. No, this was to spy on the American people. And all their pieces were separated, and you didn't know what was going on until you hear today. So Trump and the Patriots, they are working very, very hard on preparing the economy, preparing the people, preparing everything for the next system. So get prepared and ready. It's going to get a little bumpy. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.